you're going to push forward because you're going to keep thumping. Okay.
So I haven't made a talkie video in a minute, and that we're going down today. We're going an hour south to this place called the Udayas. This really nice hotel. I reached out to the owners or the staff because I saw a friend of ours who we've not seen in many months, called Anya, who's this amazing singer and very successful artist who lives here. She made an Instagram video of having gone to this space and sung there. And so I found out what the space was, and I contacted the owners and said, can we sing in this space? And the space is so incredibly resonant. And it's like the most resonant space I've ever seen anywhere. And so they agreed to let us come and sing there for an hour today. So we're going to drive all the way there and back and go sing there. We're basically paying to do this, but we have the privilege of being able to do that for ourselves. It's just a gift. And Bunny really he's open to it as well, and he is very excited about it too. So we're gonna go, and I don't want to leave Mimi, but we have to leave her at home. Sleeping. So it's so sweet how she's just my little baby. She's about, let's see, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. She's about 10 months old now. She's full grown. Look at her. Oh, she's big stuff. So looking forward to that, but I can't have any expectations because we don't have work visas. We can't really officially do any official performances here. Can't do anything that's promoted or anything like that, which we generally don't do anyway. We've never really done that in general. But it definitely limits our ability to do things here, which is hard. But we're finding our own way to do our thing anyway, like today. So something that's been happening for me is that yesterday when I was working at home, I was watching some really amazingly beautiful concert footage of Aurora doing these amazingly beautiful concerts and shows to huge amounts of people, and it's really incredible. And as I've mentioned her before, and our voices are very similar, and our aesthetics are very similar. Not the same, but similar. Very fairy-like and magical in that realm. And when I watch her, I tend to get this feeling of like, why has that not happened to me? Why have I not been able to really sing to people, to a lot of people in the way that I really want to? And Bunny asked me to define more clearly what it is I want to do. That, like, do I want to be famous? Do I want to be singing to hundreds of thousands of people? do I want to be idolized? And the answer to that is no. There was a time in which I did. There was a time in which I wanted to be world famous, and I thought that that's what we would be. I thought that that's what Thoth and I would eventually be. That it was just a matter of time in which we would take off, and what we did would be seen by more people, and we would be famous in the general sense of what fame means. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that fame is not what I want, but I do want opportunity to do the work. And I do circle around this desire that it's something that can lead me to intense depression, intense suicidal feelings. I was experiencing that several months ago when we first moved here, feeling that that's not happening, and I don't know how that could happen for us to get to sing for people. And it really drove me to just wanting to not exist anymore, because once we'd moved here, I really felt that we can't do that here. So, and we're living here, we're settled here, and I love being in Bali. I love Bali. So I don't want to leave. But how can we share our gift with people? And it's always been tricky and difficult. It's never been something we've figured out, either of us. The best we've ever been able to do has been to street perform or do little shows here and there, however we can. The most people we've ever really played for has been about 250 people in Martha's Vineyard, all those, over 10 years ago now. And so Thoth asked me to write it down, to write down what it is I really want. And I have a lot of different desires. And now that I find that now that we're more settled, I'm really thinking about it more of, because we are happy here. We love our life here. It's a beautiful life. It's something that I'm really grateful for, and I'm so pleased that we've found a beautiful home. We have we just have a great life day by day. Thoth does his walkabouts in the morning. I get to sing with friends sometimes. There's no pressure to do any particular thing. I get to draw and paint. But I have I still have a lot of dreams of things I really want, and that's always been something that's been missing for me. So I really want to, when I think of what I really desire for myself, in a way, to share my gifts in a way that would really feel good to me. I want to have access to safe spaces that are resonant. I would love for us to be invited to beautiful resonant spaces to give performances, and maybe not performances in the traditional sense. Maybe it's more doing more intimate, I don't know, maybe more intimate healing sessions with people where we sing to people. I want to be able to look into people's eyes, because this thing I got to do the other weekend, Thoth was doing his walkabout. He came up the stairs and he turned to these women and started singing to them like he does. But then I felt inspired to join, and so I did.
Yes.
And it was so amazing for me, and last night I was actually talking to Zubin and Shastra about it at dinner, that I really want to be able to sing into people's eyes.
Can you read?
So, because that experience that I had the other day, getting to sing in people's eyes, was just so magical. And that, whenever I get to do that, whenever I get to have that experience of singing directly into people's eyes, it gives my life meaning. I see very, very clearly how this is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. And yesterday, when I was watching these Aurora videos and thinking about it, it drives me to this state of feeling like I'm going mad, because I want that so badly, and I don't know how to make it happen. And I never really have. It's always been a desire for me, and it's manifested sometimes through us just doing whatever we can, however we can. But it's more often than not, it's been us doing it alone. You know, it's us doing it alone. You know, it's us doing it by ourselves, and having to figure it out however we can figure it out. Whoa. This is her favorite. This is where she likes to be. She's been doing this since she was like 2 months old, getting up on my shoulder. So we've been doing it however we can, in whatever way we can, to try and manifest that particular experience of being able to sing for people and sing to people. That's been our MO for over a decade, of that we want to sing, we want to express. And so we've just done it in whatever way that we're able to, which has been quite limited, because there's only so much we can do. And more often than not, we were doing it as street performing. And in regards to street performing is not necessarily very conducive for singing in people's eyes, right? Because it's a very outward, public, exposed thing to do, and it's not necessarily safe. You know, Thoth and I would somehow be able to create a safe, sacred container space in public spaces. I mean, that's something that he and I are quite skilled at doing. Creating these safe spaces within a public space, a space where no one would touch us, no one would bother us, no one would dare to cross the barrier between us and, them and our expression. No one ever stole any of our money. You know, we would have situations where we'd have a case when we were at the tunnel in Golden Gate Park for a few years. Our case would be way up on the top of the hill, above the staircase. We'd be down at the bottom of the staircase, 2 flights of stairs, and our case would be way up at the top to, where the people would be passing by, and people would be putting in cash, and no one touched the money. No one would ever dare to touch the money. We've never had anybody steal from us, so it's a really incredible thing that we've been able to do. Is for 15 fucking years, we were able to create safe spaces for ourselves, but they weren't necessarily that safe, because we would be stopped by police, we would be harassed by people, but in general, we were able to manifest things to the best of our ability, as best we could. And we did the best we could for as long as we were able to. But in terms of having private spaces to sing that are resonant, where people would come and we could sing to them, that's relatively few and far between over the last decade or so. It's very rare that we've been able to play anywhere, and especially in the last couple of years, to play places where we were really safe and invited to play in. Like this space we're going in today, even though we're going to be by ourselves, singing alone to each other, it's a safe space where we've been welcomed there. We can sing as loud as we want to, and nobody's going to stop us, which is just such a rare experience for us, which might seem really strange to anybody who's been following us for a while, because what we do is so beautiful, and why wouldn't we have more opportunities? So all that to say is that my dreams shift and change all the time. It's not just one thing forever, but I do have a vision and a maddening desire to sing into people's eyes and to have safe spaces that we're invited to all over the world to share our work with people, and that people come into those spaces and are able to be there and hold space with us, so we can express to them and share our gifts with them. Because the other day when I was on the street singing to these two women, I was just imagining, like, what if that was in a safe resonant space? It wasn't just on the street. What would that be like for us if we had regularly able to have safe spaces that are resonant, that we could sing in without anybody stopping us, and that we were actually getting paid to do that? Or, or having resonant art galleries and spaces where I can display my art and people come in and we sing to them. I don't have the desire to have hundreds of thousands, singing to hundreds of thousands of people, because that's not real. Thoth has taught me over the last decade that, singing into a microphone and singing to hundreds of thousands of people that's not me. The most amount of people that we would be able to reach in an acoustic space might be 100 people, and even that's too many people at any one given time, because you can't focus on people individually when you have 100 people in a room. But the time that we did the Martha's Vineyard show and we were singing we had 250 people in a room in a resonant space watching us, it was probably the most energetically expansive, amazing, heart-opening things I've ever done in my life as a performer, because I knew that all those people were there to watch us. I also remember all the doors and windows were open, as it was a big church-type space. And this was when I was about 25, which is crazy. And all the doors and windows were open, and there were local people, like neighbors, who were coming to the door and like crowding into the door to watch us, even though the tickets for seeing the show were quite expensive. I think front row tickets were like $1,000 or something. They were very expensive because Martha's Vineyard is a very fancy place. Lots of rich, wealthy artists there. I remember the ticket prices being expensive, but it was really cool because it kind of felt like it, like the street performance thing. People would come in or watching us from the windows.
Yes. You okay? All right.
So, if we were able to do, that Martha's Vineyard commission that we did, for example, was one of the most amazing experiences of our lives.
You passed out. You all right?
Because for that experience, we got paid to write an opera. They raised our friend Sarah Kernigan, actually, who was the woman who made Thoth's documentary. She raised money from all of these patrons to give us money for an opera commission that we then wrote over a year. Because we did our first performance in Martha's Vineyard, I think in 2014 maybe, and it went off really well. And then she raised money the next year for us to do an opera for that space. And
Okay.
and we so we had the money to not only, you know, take care of ourselves for some time of that year, and not have to worry so much about finances, but we also were able to invest in making 2 albums, writing an opera, and performing this opera twice. And I imagine that if we had something like that once a year, how amazing that would be. That we knew that an opera that we were going to write and create was actually going to be seen by people, and we were going to be paid to perform it, and that we then had the motivation to record an album, because we recorded within the first couple of months of writing the opera, we did like a concept album with our friends.
You want to go down? I'll go down.
Um, we wrote a concept album. Really, I mean, it's probably my favorite album we've ever made. We wrote it. We basically wrote the album in 2 weeks, because we were in New York for a couple of months, and when we got the commission, and then it was right after we did the first Martha's Vineyard show, and then we had a few months to conceptualize the opera and write the story and start writing the music. And we write music in a strange way. We tend to create, well, what we were doing back then is we would create ostinatos, violin ostinatos, that we would then play with, and then we'd sing and improvise over that and create music with it. But then once we got back to the Bay Area, that winter, we had arranged with my dad, who was a recording engineer in Nashville. He came over to California, and he got a studio for us to record for a few hours, for a few days. And we did one day and we spent basically 2 weeks like hashing out the whole opera and writing the whole thing in a really bare bones way. But then we recorded our parts on the first day for a few hours, and then we had our friends Michael and Ron, who had been in a band with Thoth decades prior. Michael is an amazing hand drummer, and then Ron is an incredible bassist and multi-instrumentalist. And it was a dream come true to be able to hire them, and we were able to pay them to come up to the Bay Area to record this album with us. And I remember my dad saying, "Oh, it's better than Cirque du Soleil," and I felt it was kind of going in that direction, and so we had them do their parts, and we kind of improvised a lot of it, but we had the story and everything, and it was one of the most amazing recording experiences I've ever had. Very, very, very exciting. I had within the story, there was a scene in which my character was being tortured, and I Thoth did an interesting 9/8 rhythm and played a thing on the violin, which was really cool. And then I just kind of sat on the floor and like screamed the whole piece. It was so cool. And I'm so proud. It's just crazy to think that was 10 years ago that we made that. But we had the motivation and the support to do that. Like these days, I don't have the desire. I don't have this deep feeling of, oh, we need to record music, because what are we recording it for? Who's going to listen to it? Where would we put it? What would be, why, why would I spend money on recording music that no one's going to listen to, that no one would pay for, that we wouldn't sell? Back then we were able to actually, make CDs and then bring them out with us while we traveled and toured around, not by ourselves, and sold them while we were busking. And it's ironic to me that the first album we made in 2009, I think, was a live album, and it was really not good. It was just someone had an average field recorder that they brought to the Angel Tunnel and just stuck it in the middle of our space and recorded as best they could, and then we made an album. And we sold more copies of that than anything else we've made, and it's the worst thing we ever produced. Because it's live. I mean, there's babies screaming and planes flying overhead, and I remember people complaining about that. We'd go out to dinner in Lisbon, and people would say, you know, the album's not very good. It's I can hear people talking, and I'm like, well, it's a live album. That's what it is. And we didn't have any ability to do anything else besides that. Imagine if we were in a position like Aurora was when she first released her first EP or her first album, and we were able to actually release a very good first album. But that's not been our thing, and we've you know, my father helped us by recording albums for us in the past, but we were doing it alone. It's not like he was really producing it to any degree. And then we, you know, that's something else is I really would like us to have support to create, you know, actually have a music producer who really wanted to create our music and help us create it to the highest quality that it could be recorded. I would love to be able to perform write operas and have them performed. You know, there's just not a lot of motivation to write another opera if we're not even going to record it and not going to be able to perform it anywhere. I mean, when we wrote and recorded and performed our first opera together, we only performed it twice. You know. So, are we doing good on time, Bunny? So, but I want to be able to sing to people. I would love to be able to record an album, like a really good, high quality album of our music, improvisatory album. And we could just do it by ourselves, but there's not motivation to, why would I put all this money into making an album, or even trying to put on an opera when nobody's going to come and see it. We wouldn't make any money. It was just, you know, we've done that. We've recorded albums, we've written operas, we've flown to different parts of the world to perform them, not made any money, just been incredibly stressed and overwhelmed by it not manifesting as being anything. And I really would like for us to have support to be able to do the work we do with help, you know, with people actually helping us, somebody being a manager for us, and with my art too, you know, to actually, the art is seen by people and it's sold and we get to perform with it and do things with it. But that I can circle around this desire to share this gift we have, and it's never going to go away. The feeling, the dream, and the desire. Even though we have this beautiful life here, it's that's missing for me, and I don't know how to. I'm doing the best I can for now. I always do. And the other things are really basically out of my control.